As we wrap the first half of the year and look ahead to the next 6 months, this is an ideal moment for businesses and individuals to reflect on progress. The progress that has been made within the first half of the year. The goal is really to empower business owners, to empower leaders, to empower individuals to evaluate their current strategies, identify any gap, and align whatever has been identified with the objectives and actions to ensure that you finish 2025 on a strong basis. You'll agree with me that the strategy adopted in January may not be the ideal strategy to adopt as we go into the second half of the year. I'll start with this quote by Michael Porter, which says that strategy is about making choices, trade-offs. It's about deliberately choosing to be different. So as we enter the second half, it is a key moment for you as a business to pause, to reflect, and to realign. Whether the first half brought growth, whether it had its challenges, what matters is how you adapt to it. So recalibrating your strategy means sharpening your focus, using insights from your performance in the first half of the year, and positioning yourself as an individual or as a business to finish the year strong. Why does recalibration matter? As the market evolves and as consumers' behavior shifts, there are a lot of internal dynamics that changes with time. So a strategy that was effected in January may no longer be relevant in July. So doing this recalibration just really involves evaluating how you have performed in the first half of the year. Has your business remained agile? Has it been competitive? And have you been able to align your business strategy with your goals as a business? And if we also look at it from an individual perspective, have you been agile in the first half of the year? And have you been able to meet at least certain goals that you have set for yourself? We can determine how our performance has been by reviewing the following that I'm going to be mentioning as we go ahead. The first point is your performance matrix. You need to evaluate your business. How has the business performed against the goals that had been set at the beginning of the year? So you need to look at your KPIs. Are you meeting your sales targets? Are you meeting your revenue targets? When we look at your customer acquisitions, how many new customers have you gathered in the business or have you acquired in the business? What has your retention strategy been as a business? Let's also look at operational efficiency. Are your processes streamlined or are there bottlenecks in rendering these services to your customers? How have you been able to track your milestones? So which goals have been achieved, which goals have been delayed, or which goals or opportunities have been missed entirely? Yeah. All this would help you to understand how you've performed within the year and then identify areas that you need to improve on as a business or as an individual. Another point I want to mention here is on customer insights. Understanding your customers is very crucial to staying relevant in business. So there are certain things that you need to review when looking at your customers. The first is the feedback that you get from customers. What are your customers saying? So I give an example. I once went into a very popular eatery where you can buy food, sit in and, eat. And I asked for, so I bought some items and I asked for an extra. And I said, okay, why not take out one of this drink and then put in a new one I requested for? And the attendant said, I've already inputted it into the system and there's no way I can delete it. I said, okay, but if I want to add something else, you can't actually add it, right? She said, yes, she can add it, but she can't delete it. And I'm like, okay, so that's even an operational inefficiency because you should be able to delete, particularly when the customer has not made payment. And, the attendants didn't even say anything to me and just ignored me. I was like, okay, can I have your card for payment? And we paid. And she was like, okay, are you still interested in the drink? And I felt that service was not top-notch. I think the feedback should have been taken. And if you cannot impute or delete, you could easily apologize to me to say, I apologize. At the moment, we are not able to delete a particular item, but I can impute it subsequently after I take this initial order. That's a better way to address your customer rather than making it seem like you have a right and the customers should just take it like that. So where I'm going to is that feedback from customers is very important. You need to understand what your customers are saying. You need to understand how best to relate with them and treat them. Behavioral trend is very important. How your customers have been able to engage with your brand over the first 6 months of the year. What are their needs and expectations? Are your offerings still aligned with what your customers value the most? All these things would help you to understand your customers and stay closer to your customers. The third point is market condition. This relates to external factors that impact a business. So you need to understand the industry trends. What industry do you play in? What are the new regulations, that would impact your business, the emerging technology, customer trends, and how it affects your business. So this is very key because it's a macro element that you cannot avoid in a business. Moving on, competitive landscape and the economic environment is also very key. Inflation, currency fluctuation, policy changes, they all affect our market, they all affect our business. So we need to stay informed to help us to anticipate changes and seize any new opportunities that comes from this change. And finally, one key part is your team and resources. People are a great tool in every business. So you need to understand your team. You need to assess their roles and responsibilities and make sure that it is clear. Make sure that the morale is always high. Make sure that they have the right skill and the right capacity. So in the event that this is lacking, you know that you need to work on it in the next half year. One last point before I conclude will be on financial health. Strong financial management underpins strategic flexibility. So for your cash flows, you need to review them. Are you managing income effectively? Are you managing your expenses effectively? What are your profit margins? Are you pricing correctly? Or are you able to control your costs? All these things are very important in evaluating your performance. Let's take it a step further and look at the tools that can be used to assess your performance. The first is the SWOT analysis, which entails a review of your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And then we could also adopt a KPI review, which entails assessing the key performance indicators. The use of these tools would help to assess and identify areas where you need to improve on as you go into the next half of the year. Let's take it a step further to look at the steps to recalibrate effectively. The first is to reflect. Conduct a mid-year review with your leadership team. As an individual, take a time out to look at how you have performed from January down to the month of June. The second is to refocus. Clarify your top priorities for the next 6 months. What are the key things that you need to achieve in the next 6 months? The third point is to rebuild, and this involves adjusting your strategies, your timeline, and your resource allocation, most importantly. And then finally, reignite. Communicate with your team, work with all the stakeholders involved to help you achieve your goal for the next half of the year. As we look ahead into the second half of the year, this is a time to have a fresh start with a clear eye view of where you stand now and where you are looking to go to. You need to make informed decisions that will drive momentum and help you to make an impact that significantly matters. Remember, recalibration is not a sign of failure. It is a mark of leadership and resilience. Thank you so much for your time. Do have a great day.